Hello Wildflowers, and welcome back to the Rambling Rose. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, it feels as though the equinox can't come fast enough, because at the end of a long hot summer, this little rose is utterly exhausted. And by the looks of things in the garden right now, I think the flowers are too. It's true, I think I've gone to seed myself, and I'm so ready for the cool and quiet months with their promise of cozy solitude and calm reflection. It's a time to curl up with a book and a hot cup of tea and take a break from weeding and pruning and digging and planting for a while. But before I let all my leaves turn brown and flutter to the ground, like the little autumn witch I am, in this, my 50th episode, I wanted to take a look back over a whole year in the cottage garden to see just what a green witch gets up to as the wheel of the year turns and the seasons come and go. We'll also get together for a little garden harvest party to celebrate the upcoming equinox and the 50th episode of The Rambling Rose. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. This story begins in the quiet crucible of winter, when things are moving in the unseen and all the possibilities of the garden are waiting, dormant, just beneath the surface. The changes that take place in winter are alchemical, and at Yule, the winter solstice, when the nights are long, there is little to do but follow the plants themselves and go within, drawing all of your energy into your roots. In these, the darkest weeks of the year, a witch can listen to the heartbeat of nature, tuning in to the way her energy is always transmuting. It is the best time for reflection and shadow work, and just as the garden takes a moment to rest, so too can we, understanding that no flower blooms all year round. The weeks around the winter solstice are also a great time for creativity, gathering inspiration for the coming spring, planning and preparing your garden for the return of the light. I always find a spark of inspiration stirring within me at this time. I get to pruning, mulching and cleaning, as well as doing an inventory of my seeds. In this quiet time before the fire festival of Imbolc, so much is really happening in the garden, and I can see little signs of the beauty that is about to burst forth. And then all of a sudden, Imbolc arrives, the fire festival that signifies the return of the light. There are hellebores of all different colours and snowdrops, pansies, violas and African daisies in bloom already, and the garden is awakening. I'm not sure if I'm ready at this early stage, but Nevertheless, I roll up my sleeves and get started. The bulbs I planted back in autumn are beginning to peek their first shoots above the soil, and I look back on my garden journal with excitement, visualising the tulips and daffodils in all their spring glory, whispering words of encouragement, spells I know they can hear. At this time of year, it is always my hellebore garden that steals the show, having put so much effort into growing these mysterious and magical flowers over the years. They are called winter roses, after all. I love gently turning their shy petals to the light, examining their sacred geometry and kaleidoscopic colours. I fancy they're a rather gothic little flower. And according to the poisoner's apothecary, black hellebore is one of the most poisonous members of the Ranunculaceae or buttercup family, along with wolfsbane, and its magical uses are many, from exorcism, necromancy and banishing spells, to removing dark entities and spiritual poisons. But to me, the bewitching hellebore simply guides me through the darkness and into the light. She is, to me, the quintessential flower in my winter garden, rivaling even the delicate snowdrop, the yellow wattle, and the native wildflowers that cover the forests in purple, white, and yellow at this time of year. Along with the winter vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, kale and broad beans, these are the plants that signal the return of the light and give the garden a sense of magic and colour, keeping this little green witch entertained until the arrival of spring. When the fairy bluebells appear and the dainty narcissus are bobbing their snow-white heads in the gentle winds, there's a subtle shift in energy. You can feel it in the garden and in your very bones, and that's when a witch knows that winter is over. Spring dawns in a flurry of activity in a witch's cottage garden, with crisp, clear mornings and bright sunlight cutting through the fog, setting the frost all a-glitter. The flowers indeed feel like they are laughing as apple blossoms flutter to the ground like snowflakes or whirl about as if they were dancing as the wind picks up. It seems to me that even the wind has a role to play in this season, since it's the perfect time for scattering seeds. And when the first of the spring bulbs are in bloom, the equinox, Ostara, has arrived. Gentle breeze and falling rain, the time has come for life again. Daffodils, yellow and white, welcome back the growing light. Ostara, lady of the spring, what happiness and joy you bring. The equinoxes are a time when light and dark, masculine and feminine, are in perfect balance in the garden. They are a time to make plans for the months ahead, imagine the dreams you wish to manifest, and reflect on the growth of the past season. There is so much excitement at this time of year, and I, like the flowers themselves, feel a rush of inspiration and energy, making plans and visualizing my dream garden come summertime. It's as if just seeing those cheerful daffodils is my sign to get busy too. It is a time for sowing seeds, and this is when Mr. Rose and I put up our greenhouse in a sunny position in the morning light and start sowing. We also love nothing more than to take our morning walks through this sleepy country town, past other cottage gardens we admire, getting ideas and discussing what new plants we'll attempt to grow this season. Ooh, look at that daffodil. Is that a bearded iris? And wow, a black tulip. It's one of my favourite things about spring. And as those happy days roll gently into summer, we can enjoy dozens of other gardens as they evolve too, cheering them on as if they were our own. Now, I've always felt that Beltane was the most romantic of the fire festivals, midway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, because to me, it's when the roses are in full bloom and the strawberry patch is bursting. It feels like a time for self-care and beauty rituals, herbal teas and spring rain, and of course, like the birds and the bees, Beltane is a time for making love. That's right, it's the season of passion wildflowers, and the theme of the garden is fertility. Summer, those long hazy days when the high heat of the sun paints the garden in a palette of shimmering gold, dragonfire orange and bright candy pink. This is when the cut flower patch is really at her finest, when the dahlias flaunt their giant blooms and the cosmos and zinnias set the garden alight, calling in the butterflies and bees, birds and dragonflies, and of course the summer fairies. The days take on a lazy, dreamy energy as Litha, the summer solstice, arrives in all her splendour. Litha marks the point on the wheel of the year when the day is the longest, and to me it really feels like a festival of the sun. Also known as midsummer, it is a time when the veil is thin and the fae folk come out of the shadows to dance in the light. This is the time of year when I love nothing more than to wander my garden and pick a beautiful bouquet from my very own cut flower patch to decorate my home and bring some of that sunshine inside. Litha is the season of flowers, and so it's the time of year many cottage gardeners look forward to the most, when all of the dreams and seeds of intention that were planted in the depths of winter are finally bursting to life. It is so satisfying to see the living canvas of your garden painted in colours that not too long ago only existed in your imagination. There are pastel petals everywhere you look, with roses and poppies, gladioli and lily, all jostling for space and their chance to shine. It is a spectacular time to spend your days outside in wistful wonder at the beauty of flowers, watching the butterflies fly by. Until, of course, you start to see those summer weeds creeping in, and the task of watering morning and night has you questioning just why you do it. The summer solstice is, of course, a great turning point. After the longest day of the year, the sky begins to slowly darken and the wheel begins to turn again in the direction of winter. But with the approaching darkness comes the gifts of the harvest. As summer draws to a close and the days begin to cool, it's time to celebrate Lughnasadh, or Lammas, the witch's Thanksgiving. Abundance is everywhere, and the vegetable patch is overflowing with zucchini, pumpkin, tomatoes, potatoes, and so much more. It is at this point when this little green witch is becoming rather weary. There's only so many chili peppers I can harvest, and only so much chili jam and hot sauce that one girl can eat, and my heart longs for the coming autumn. It feels as though I'll never be able to harvest, cook and preserve everything in time for winter. But Lughnasadh also heralds a time of deep gratitude and awe at nature's magic and what the earth and one hopeful gardener can achieve when they work together. The best way to celebrate this Sabbath is, of course, to gather and feast. To really enjoy the summer's harvest at its ripest, you need to eat and cook and eat some more, right in the garden where everything grew, surrounded by the humming of bees and cicadas chirping. And so here at Beltane Cottage, as the last days of summer fade into autumn, there is no better way to celebrate my 50th episode than with an enchanted harvest party. And you, my dear wildflowers, are invited. In the shade of a magnolia tree, I've set up a table dressed in the finest floral linens, edged in delicate lace and soft ruffles, with pretty dinnerware edged in gold, fit for a fairy queen. In the dappled sunlight, with the wind chimes tinkling in the breeze, I can feel the curious fae folk coming out to sit in the branches above, dangling their little legs over a bough, wiggling their iridescent wings, and whispering to one another mischievously. A most bewitching way to farewell the long days of summer and welcome the coming equinox. On the menu are delicacies harvested from this very garden: golden nugget pumpkin stuffed with mushrooms and herbs, zucchini ribbon salad with lemon and dill dressing topped with white nasturtium flowers, and fizzy wildflower cordial, a recipe from the high elves of Avalon, don't you know? You'll find all these recipes over on Patreon, sweet friends, along with many more of my favourite recipes for your seasonal festivities: gingerbread cake for Yule, strawberry rolls for Beltane, or Dutch apple pie for Mabon. And if you love this fairy party table I've created, I'll leave a link in the description below to shop for these exquisite table linens and cushions by Nabi Fabric. Be sure to use my code ROSE20 for your exclusive discount. If you've been following my channel for a while now, you'll know I often refer to myself as a green witch, a cottage witch, or sometimes a hedge witch. And really, the term still elicits strong reactions sometimes. But for me, I've always been comfortable with this name, knowing that deep down it simply means I listen to nature and try to live as best I can in harmony with her rhythms and cycles. I follow the old ways, if I can, of my Celtic ancestors, trying to learn their secrets to a good harvest and a healthy, happy home. I believe there is a wild magic in the green living world that we do not yet fully understand, or perhaps have long forgotten. And maybe, if you're here with me, you sense something wild and green flowing in you too. And then, like a cozy blanket, autumn falls upon the garden. When the leaves turn golden brown, the skies take on a stormy shade of lavender, and the morning sunrises come lazily and late. It is the season of the witch, of mists and mellow fruitfulness, as Keats once described it, and it is my favourite season of all. In a witch's garden, the autumnal equinox, Mabon, like the other Sabbaths, is rich with symbolism and meaning. Here the day and night are of equal length, and the wheel of the year turns gently towards the longest night. As the trees release their withered leaves to the ground, no longer fresh and green, but now decomposing into the very soil that nourished them as a seedling, I feel a change come over me too. I allow myself to gracefully let go of all that no longer serves me. In the cottage garden, it is a time to gather seeds, pull out the withered summer annuals, plant spring bulbs, prune trees and roses, and harvest apples and berries. But then the hard work is over. Finally, it's cozy time, and traditionally celebrated with warming dishes like apple pies, soups, stews, cider, and spiced wine. It's where my book-loving soul feels most at home, curled up with a cup of coffee under a blanket. And just before the very last leaf flutters to the ground and darkness envelops the witch's garden, the festival of Samhain arrives, or All Hallows Eve, as many know it. And oh, what wicked delight I take in this season, the most spellbinding Sabbath of all, when eldritch things lurk in the shadows of the forest and the spirits of the underworld cross over. A Sabbath that just so happens to fall on my birthday. Some traditions I love to follow are making smoke sticks and simmer pots, painting by candlelight, and making an altar to honour my ancestors. At this time of year, I can feel the veil thinning and the ancestors whispering. This feeling of melancholic beauty that Samhain brings kind of matches my moody and reclusive artistic tendencies and my penchant for the spooky and strange. By the time this Sabbath arrives, my soul can hardly wait for the dark tomb of winter to come, the solitude and deep magic that stirs in the stark, cold silence. It beckons. Because there is really nothing to fear in the darkness, for it is here where metamorphosis occurs, and rest, sweet, blessed rest. I so hope you've enjoyed this, my 50th episode of The Rambling Rose, reflecting on the wheel of the year as it turns in a witch's garden. I would love to hear in the comments which is your favourite season, and if you've been watching from the very beginning, which was your favourite episode so far. Until next time, sweet souls, merry meet and merry meet again. A blessed Mabon to all the wildflowers in the southern hemisphere. May the winds of change blow gently through your autumn days and your inner light guide you through the darkest nights. For those in the north celebrating Ostara, a blessed springtime to you all. May the equinox fill you with a sparkling new passion for life, and the fairies bless you with flowers, rainbows and sunshine.